Hello, welcome to Joan's Sewing Room. How are you all today? Well, we're pretty good here. We've being hit by a windstorm. I don't know if it's lake winds or from a storm that's coming through. Probably the storm that they're talking about. But anywho, I wanted to explain to everyone that has questions about what I'm making. I am making the daisy quilt. My quilt, my design is made from half square triangles and squares. Now this, let me show you, make sure it's the right way. Actually, it doesn't matter. But this is the half square triangles, okay? And this is a square, and this is your half square triangle. This is a square. These are squares. Okay, so this is my pattern. This is the pattern. Okay, and these two are actually exactly the same. I just made them separate so you can know that you make 8 of the background and 8 of the petals. And I'll show you what they look like if I can find it. And this is it. This is the pattern piece, and it is, now I made mine, I think they're, let me see, it says on here, 4.5 inches long by 2 inches, let's see, let me measure that. 2 inches by 4.5. And then on the short side, let me see what it says. It's 3 inches. Well, 2 3/4 inches. So, anywho, I just made up my design. And that's how I came up with it. This down here is the center of the flower, and these over here are parts that we'll be sewing on later for the side strips, the sashing, and the corner. But right now, this is what I'm working on. Is the actual pattern so you can see what I'm doing. So first of all, what you have to do is you need to lay it out like this to get them to stand up like this. Okay? Okay. So how you achieve that? You take one of these backgrounds that you've cut, and you take one of your half of your flower petal, and what you would do is you put the right side, the right side down onto your table, and then you want to put the wrong side of the petal onto this. Now you don't want to line it up like that, because when you go to sew it, it's not going to work. So what you need to do is you take the other petal like this, and if I can get it right, let me see. You lay it out like so. This is how you want to lay it. This is on the bias, okay? And you want to sew it straight across like that. And by doing that, it's going to stand up straight. And this is what we have here. And this is what I've done. Okay, so now I'm going to sew the flowers together. I am going to sew the petals together. And by doing that, of course, you know, you just line up your right sides together, like so. Seams together so they'll match when you go to sew them. Now, some of these pieces will hang over like that, even though they are the same size. So what I've done is I will trim them, so it makes it easier to sew. So I just trim that off, like so. And now you have a straight line for sewing. And it doesn't do anything to the flower. It just makes it, makes it easier. Hopefully I got it so it opens up good. Yeah. All right. So here is your petal and your background. And that's the start of your flower. With these, you can just trim those off. And so what I do is I'll take it to the iron and I will open up my seams. It's important to open up your seams when you are making this. That way it helps make everything lay much flatter. Okay? So now, the next deal is your right sides together. So you want to flip it over and you'd want to do your right sides together, just like that. And sew it. Sew it on. Pick up your foot there, Joan. Might work better. Okay. Perfect. So this is the first one. Now, people ask about my daisy quilt. There's a lot of daisy quilts out there. Some are pointed daisies, some are round daisies, some quilts have, you know, there's just all different types of daisy quilts out there. And of course, I always like to do things differently, so I made mine like this. But if you go on YouTube and just put in daisy quilt, like how you found me, you'll find a bunch of daisy quilts. Okay, so now this is the first step, okay? Now naturally you would have all these put together, but I'm just doing them one at a time. Now this quilt can be made into a baby quilt, or you could make them into a throw quilt like I'm going to do, or it can be made into a twin, queen, king, however you want to make it. It's up to you. This is just the design that I came across. And like I said, there's other designs out there. And there's one similar to mine, but their background is not as big, and they didn't make the background the same way I made mine. So I came up with the way I wanted to make mine. Okay. And what is a daisy quilt, I was asked? A daisy quilt, a quilt is that you can throw over to keep yourself warm. That's a daisy quilt, or that's a quilt, right? Daisy quilt is just the name of the quilt, or the name of the pattern, just like log cabin. Log cabin is the design, the name of the design of a certain quilt, or a blanket quilt. Okay. So the next question is, where do we go from here? You have this design, this part right here. So where do I go from here? Well, what I do is I will sew this one to here, like so. But we want to go in this direction. So your petal always lines up with the center of the flower, like so. Okay, so that makes it easier to put this together, knowing that your petal always lines up with the center of your flower. And you just want to go around and make sure you match up all your seams, your front, your seams. Now, a lot of you are going to say when you start to put this together, well, this one is longer than that one. And that's correct. That will be trimmed. Now, my quilt would have been bigger if I left it this size. I had found by putting the background onto this, it was hard to get the background, to lay properly so I could get them. So I'd sew them on this way, like so, but then when I came to sew this part on, it would pucker. And it was really hard to do. So I just came up with my own idea. All right, so now we have these on. See, and as you go, you can see that the petal is going, they're all going around in a circle, like so. Okay, so now we're on petal 3. There again, I should have had my petals together, but I didn't. And I'm not ironing them right yet. So, I'm just showing you how I put them together. I always line up the center ones, and then I open it up on the side to see if they're matching. This one could be moved up just a hair. Like so. Let me see how it goes. All right. Oh, and this one needs to be trimmed. Like so. And now we will sew it together. fix this. Okay. All right, so the next one will go right here at the bottom. These two right here. When I first made this, I wanted to kind of just go straight across, you know, with rolls, and it just wouldn't work out that way. Okay, so this one is number 3. And what I have done is I've numbered these. Make sure it's going in the right direction. On number 1. And that's between the petal and the center of the flower. It's this corner right here. Okay. And there is a reason for that. Now, some sewers would figure that out right away. Or when they go to put this together, they would figure that out, that that has to be open. Other sewers wouldn't know that, and you know, they'd go put this together and they go, well, it's just not working out. It's not working out at all. But this is the reason. So how do we do this now? This is it. This is that little part right here. So you can see that we need to leave open. So that's the area that needs to be left open. Okay. Now, let me put these two together and you'll see the reason why we have to leave it together, open. Alrighty, I did it good. All right. Let's see if I did it. Oh, almost perfect, but that's okay. It's better than it was. All right, so now this is the plan here. So what I'm going to do with this where I pinned it with the yellow pin, I'm going to take that out like so. And what I want to do, now you have to fold this white back to get it out of the way, okay? And you want to put right sides together and line your center of your flower with the petal, and you want to fold out that seam. See how I folded it out like that? Open like the seam. And then you just want to line this petal up with that edge, like so. just like that. And then you want to sew it. And this one I am going to backstitch. And these I'm going to all right, so we got the first part on. You see that? And how the petals are all going in that direction. Okay. Now we need to put the white, the background, onto the bottom of the petal. So this is going to be easy. And the reason why it's going to be easy is because I had opened up that seam. And that seam is where the background and the petal was attached to the center of the flower. So now all I have to do is lay back number 1 on top of number 4, like so, and sew it down, just like that. That took me a while to figure out. Well, I don't know, a long while, but it did take me a while to figure out how am I going to lay that out on paper so I can describe it to you guys. And so I've been writing out my design so I could explain it to you. Takes a little bit of thinking. All right. So we have it, and that's how it looks, just like that. So it lays nice and flat. You don't have any puckers. I will have to trim it because it is a little wonky. I do have to iron it. So the next step is, let me go iron it, and I will trim it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. So this is the quilt we just did, the quilt square that we just did. And as you can see, I trimmed it and ironed it. And it looks pretty cute. I really like it. Now, I have been noticing that my quilt pieces are coming out between 9 and 9.5 inches wide. Yep. So this is one quilt piece that I have finished. Now, what we have here is this one has a white sashing here, a white sashing here, and we have a green leaf in the middle. So I'm going to show you now how I make that. And as you can see on this side, on the left side and the bottom does not have sashing, because every one of these blocks will have the exact size sash at the top and at the bottom. So when I go to sew all these together next time, they will all be covered. They will all have sashing all the way around them, except for the side ones will not.
The corners will have leaves.
But the tops will have it, and so both sides will not. Or actually, one side will have it. Sashing. And I'm planning on making 5 flowers across and 6 flowers down. And right now I have 4 rolls done. So I have 2 more rolls to sew. And then we will go to sewing them all together and then I will be putting it on my quilting frame to quilt. So the next step is to make a square. We need to make the leaf, and the leaf is 2 by 2. Now I chose a leaf because I put a leaf there because I feel that the leaf kind of grounds the I don't know if you can see it, but the leaf pattern is grounding the quilt. I could put an orange orange square there. I could put a yellow one, any color, whatever color you're making, you could put it in there. And then I said, well, how am I going to make a leaf? I don't know. I just felt like a leaf would be kind of cool. I've seen other daisy quilts and they have vines running through them, or they'll use the same color 2 by 2 square in their corners, the same colors of the quilt, or the same colors of the backing of the quilt. But I decided to do mine a little different again and create a leaf. So this is how I came up with the design. Here is my leaf. Okay. And the way I came up with that idea is that I have this green square 2 by 2, and then I have a little square that goes in each corner, and the square is 1 by 1, and it would go right here. So you have one here and then one up here. So let me show you how I am putting that together. And I do have a pattern here. And with all the little extra pieces that we've cut, I have extras here. So here's the 1 by 1 pattern. And I'll show you how I got there like that. So I laid out my patterns. And I have this pen here that I'm using. That's the wrong one. I'll use a red one. Oh, excuse me for reaching. And so you can, this is this fabric pen. It erases, or when the iron hits it, it'll just erase the ink. So that's pretty cool. So I just draw it out onto the fabric. Like so. And I need 2 of those. All right, perfect. So there they are. Now I just cut them. Just like that. So what you do is you just take right sides together and you put it in one corner, and then you sew from this from this corner down to that corner. Oop. Don't want to lose that. Just like that. That's how you make it. Okay, so that's one. And then here's the other. There again, you sew from this corner to that corner. All right, so we have it. There it is. So what do we do next? We clip off these ears, like so. And the reason is because you have these in the middle. So you don't want to cut those off, just the ones on the outside. These will be folded in like so. And now it is a square. So that is what I'm going to be using for the corner of this quilt. It will look like this, and it will look like this. Like so. Okay. So now what I need to do, I have a strip. This is two and a half. Let me make sure if that's right. Actually, it's 2 inches. This is 2 inches. Well, I have it almost 10, but I did that because I didn't want to be short. So what I did is I'm going to do right sides together, wherever they are, lay down my lay down, put these together like this and sew them. Make sure I've got it going in the right direction. That's the trick. You want to make sure that your leaf is going in the right direction. So you want to line it up with your corner. However you're going to put, if you're going to use a leaf, you want to make sure that it's going like so and not the other way. And then you want to attach this to this. Okay? Let me make sure that that's the way I want it to go. No. See, that's the way I got it in, but that's not the way I want it to lay. So it's always good to double check. So is this the way? Oop. Flowers. Let me pin it so it'll stay together. Like so. Yes, this is the way I want it to go. And that will go right up here. Onto the quilt. Like so. Okay? All right, so let's... Now, there's another trick we need to remember. When we go to sew this one on, and it's down here at the bottom, we're going to have to leave a 1/4 inch opening for this to attach to it. So the 1/4 inch is going to have to be in the upper, let's see, It's going to be in the corner right here. You want to leave that open right there, a 1/4 inch. So this can attach to it and fold and, you know, look nice. That was another one I had to figure out. So that's where the head of the pin is. I almost did it wrong. Okay. All right, so I left it open somewhere. Yes, I did. Now we want to attach this to this. I want to make sure that it's the one I left open. Yes, it's there. So I'm going to do right sides together. Actually, I did the wrong side. It's actually the other side. It's actually the corner, this corner right here. You guys are going to think I'm nuts, right? So let me see here. Since I haven't sewn it on yet. I'm going to pin it. See, this is just an idea I came up with the other day. So when I go to sew these on, like so, and this one gets sewed on like that, the corners are going to have to meet. Okay. So that's where it is. It's this corner. So where these two corners meet right here is where it needs to be a 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to start sewing here. I'm going to pin it. Ooh, excuse me, reaching. Like so. And like I said, if you are a professional, I mean, you're not professional or whatever, if you're just a quilter and you've been quilting for years, you're going to figure out these steps very easily. Or you're just going to look at you might be able to just look at the pattern. Like well, I made up the pattern, but look at it and say, okay, this is how you sew it together. Or, you're going to be able to sew it together. Yeah. Possibly. Or all different, right? So when you come to the edge where the leaf is, you just want to sew right up to the line, the sewing line, and stop. I think I might have went over a little too far there. I did. I'm going to pull that one out. See, I'm telling you, and I didn't do what I said. Okay, just pull that one out. All right. So here is this top sashing. Or let's say this is the side sashing, because I don't want anything on this side. So we're going to put the top on now. And remember, I left it open right here. So first of all, we need to put this, attach the sashing to the leaf. Right sides together. This one is hard to see because the yep, okay. So right sides together. I'm going to line that up best you can. Pull this down a little bit so I can get in there and see what's going on. There we go. So I want to be able to lay. So what I did was I just cut away there, cut away here. Okay, not the green. I just moved this background out of the way, or the sashing. Okay. And then I want to lay this sashing over the top of that and just fit it in. It's kind of like, you know, making clothes in a way, I guess. All right, so I'm going to pin it down. And when I go to sew it, I'm going to try not to sew on the background or the other sashing. And as I can see here, I definitely cut this sashing too wide. I'm going to backstitch that. And I'm going to look down here and make sure I'm not sewing onto that sashing, that other sashing at all. Now, I'm going to pull it out. So those are the only two tricky places that we really need to worry about. See how nice it came out? And there's no puckers. Now what we want to do is fold this back down onto the flower, the daisy itself, and we will sew it on. So that just kind of makes it so when you go to sew all the way along the edge here onto the daisy quilt, right sides together, when you flip this over, it'll look really nice in the corner and it won't pucker. That's the only thing there that you gotta worry about. And I don't know why. It just is. Just is. It's like when you make the flying goose pattern. Those are really tricky. Those were really tricky. I had no clue when I was making those about how tricky it is to get your corners together and still have a piece here. And then, yeah, it was really, like I said, before that quilt, I had never really ever worked on a piece quilt like that. I had no idea what I was getting myself into because one thing, it was minky. Never worked with minky before. And this is back. But I knew what I wanted. Well, I didn't know. I had to figure out what design I wanted. And the pattern was for my granddaughter, and she was, I think, 8 then. All right, so it looks good. So there's the leaf. And this is what it all looks like. See, I got the sashing on. Now this will be the side panel. So when I go to lay it out, or lay it next to it, it will join on to another quilt here. Where is that other quilt? So it'll go like this. Like so. I think it's pretty cute, don't you? I think it's good. Thank you for watching. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.